The science of brain dumping. Listen to this. The mind is its own place and in itself can make a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven. Says John Milton, an exceptional and intellectual English poet in the 17th century, who used his brain muscle to excel even more in poetry after he became blind than when he had his full vision. Welcome, my lovely listeners, to another of the Hope Ignites Healing podcast with your host, Dr. Lillian Kalisa, a space we are speaking everything holistic health and healing. And just to bring you up to speed, we are in the season we are speaking clean out. We're cleaning out our minds, our bodies, and our spaces for holistic health and especially healing. This week, brain dumping. The science. Listen to this. I'll start by telling you that our brains are like computers, which you know, and not just computers, by the way, but supercomputers. These computers process incredible amounts of information. However, if a computer had multiple tabs open, I imagine that this will force it to slow down, right? And definitely, this would affect its efficiency, right? So it is with these supercomputers, our brains. And there is a term I'm sure you've heard called cognition. I'll tell you that cognition, just in case you don't know, is the ability to think. This is the ability to acquire knowledge and understanding and then acting on it through our 5 senses. Now, there is a certain amount of information that we can store in a particular amount of time that enables us to work at our maximum load, and beyond which there are consequences. And this is what we call cognitive load, beyond which this threshold, one would be stretching their brain beyond its limit. That is, beyond going over the cognitive load means you're stretching your brain, and that is what we call stress. Those are the triggers of stress in our brain. And you know how our bodies naturally by default will try their best to repair the damage thanks to these amazing bodies. So our brain is one of those. When it realizes a state of stress, it will do its best to try and correct the mess. And in the process of this retrospective repair, the brain has less ability and space to work on the new tasks that you're giving it and to think about new problems as efficiently as it did before this damage. And remember, we are talking about stress. Now, while this is happening, your skin becomes aware, your body then becomes aware that you omitted an important task. And your body does not know that the brain is still in the process of repairing that damage and the past overload that was caused on it. Now again, you realize that this will trigger more stress, not just to the brain, but to the entire body, because suddenly the body is aware of major omissions and the effect and damage that this is causing to the brain. So this vicious cycle keeps going on, and more stress keeps being introduced in the brain and the body as a whole. And this definitely results into major injury to the brain and the body as a whole. No wonder, globally, 75% of healthcare problems are actually stress-related because of that injury that keeps going on to the body tissues. Now this, even just trying to explain this, sounds like a jigsaw puzzle, like I'm stuck right in the middle of that puzzle. Now imagine what our brains have to do to get out of this puzzle. But thank goodness there is brain dumping. The miracle that happened to our brains when we didn't actually realize is brain dumping. And I will tell you, soon we will rescue them, save our souls from this jigsaw puzzle. I'll tell you that brain dumping is that process of taking everything that is found floating in your mind, and then at that step when cognitive load has been reached, including things like tasks undone, to-do lists yet to be done, appointments, things gone bad, past trauma, the list goes on. So the brain puts all this somewhere out of your mind in a different storage space that is actually out of the brain. And the idea is to get all these thoughts that are clogging the mind and putting them down on paper with a goal to declutter the mind. Here is finally us getting to cleaning out our brains, so as to free up brain space for productivity and learning something new. Essentially, you are in the process of freeing up the natural computer RAM to allow it to function on new tasks and new creative ideas that are most definitely in the now and in the future. Do you hear how brain dumping is actually a science that came to rescue our minds from the trauma that they keep going through? And these are the benefits of brain dumping when you attempt to do it. 1, it reduces stress. Like we've explained, the vicious cycle that keeps going on in the brain and in the body, the tasks that you are doing and the things that are clogging your mind suddenly become enjoyable and are unburdensome tasks to carry out. 2, it's a modality to manage anxiety, and this has been shown by psychologists, saying that it can help people with anxiety and other mind-related illnesses, things that have to do with a lot of racing thoughts or tendencies to overthink. Brain dumping has been a rescue. 3, it increases focused results. In faster progress of a task at hand, you're able to deal with it urgently and in a focused manner, and it enables to reduce distractions from those that are clogging our minds. And while we're here, I hear procrastination being addressed. While we have all those pending thoughts and things to do, when we write them down, it enables us to address procrastination and plan to work on them there later on. And while we're at that, I now hear planning. So the 5th benefit is that brain dumping creates opportunities for us to plan better. It's the beginning of planning your life. And the 6th and final, but not least of them all, is that these random thoughts finally have a definitive end. Isn't that amazing? Now, I'll tell you that research done in 2021 showed that participating in a brain dumping activity for students that had less intrinsic concentration and less intrinsic cognitive load found that writing things down actually improved recall and memory. And I know at this point some of you might say that I've been journaling for quite a while. Why brain dump? Because I've been doing it. I'll tell you that while you can use your journal for brain dumping, the two are different, and this is why. So brain dumping is time limited. It enables you to get down all that you happen to have in your thought process, writing them down in a quick manner, usually 5 to 10 or even 15 minutes. Unlike journaling, whereby you're taking an event and you're debulking an event, you're writing everything about one particular event, putting your thoughts on paper. So journaling is not time limited, and brain dumping, you just keep writing everything that it's like a flow of ideas keep flowing down on paper. And listen to what some people have to say that have attempted brain dumping. The first one is quite interesting. Someone who thought that the name was strange said, "I tried doing a brain dump every day for a week to declutter my mind, manage racing thoughts, and improve focus. It's way better than its name suggests." Interesting. Another, Dr. Marsha Brown, a renowned psychologist, said that at night, brain dumps can help quieten racing thoughts and turn my brain off so I can sleep. And listen to what Dr. Lillian says. Brain dumping is to the brain what sweating is to the skin. So herein I bring the question for the week. Now that you know what brain dumping is and its benefits, and that it's not as technical as you thought, in fact, you can even attempt to start it immediately after finishing this podcast. Here is the question. How are you going to use this to your advantage? How will you clean out your mind this week, if not through brain dumping? I'll tell you, for me, I will take my brain dumping a notch higher by brain dumping before bedtime. And trust me, I will be back to tell you the benefits of my brain dump before I sleep. So our brains at this point are waiting for us to instruct them to do through our affirmations. So this week, I want to challenge us to have our affirmations coming from our brain dump. So I won't make one for us, but I'll tell you to write and speak out what you see coming out of the list of brain dumps. And together, let's grow our mind and mental strength for holistic health and especially for our healing, for it all starts in the mind. It's been such an honor to debulk and demystify brain dumping for you and for myself. I'm so proud of you. I'm here to cheer you on. And while we clean out our minds, we are chasing after holistic health and healing intentionally. I'll see you next week. Let's start taking our brains out of this jigsaw puzzle by brain dumping. Your host, Dr. Lillian Kalisa. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.